All right, thanks everybody for being here. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Uh, Would someone like to approve the minutes from the previous meeting?
Move that we accept the meetings.
Okay,
Minutes from the
second.
March meeting.
Okay, Paul seconded. All right, that passes. Thank you very much. Any additions to the agenda you have in front of you? All right. Tom, it's your show.
Don't have much to add, just want to make sure you got your ballots, or should be getting your ballots. You probably got your e-ballots in your inbox, or you'll soon get your paper ballots in the mail. Vote, 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 vote. That's really important. Do your homework, make an informed decision, but most of all, vote.
All right, anybody got a question for Tom before we move on? Okay, Rick, you're online, so we're gonna let you have the floor.
Okay, so the...
Rick, speak up.
I'm sorry?
Speak up.
I am. Is it not coming through?
You might want to get closer to the mic.
Pretty much sitting on it. Is that any better?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's good. Thanks.
Okay. So our summer rangers are starting tomorrow with training. We'll have...
Hold on, Rick, we lost you all together. Hold on. Try it again.
Our summer rangers are starting tomorrow with training.
Chris, can you help us out at all? He's working on it.
Yeah, we can hear him online fine.
Try it again, Rick.
Hello?
Oh, that's better.
Okay. Our summer rangers start tomorrow with training. They'll be in classroom training for 2 days, and then about 2 weeks teamed with one of our year-round guys. So they'll be ready to go once we get a little bit busier. We have a kayak rack that is under construction at Lake Ann, and that should be finished by the end of the week, so we can start getting leases for those spaces. We want to start the conversation on the drawdown for the next year, for the fall of this year. If everything is in line, it should be Windsor for this fall. We started spring electrofishing last night. That's about 2 weeks ahead of last year. The water has really warmed up, and so we have to go when the weather's right. Our fisheries and aquaculture, lakes and parks open house is Saturday from 10 to 2 at Loman Park, on location where we're building the aquaculture ponds. Those are still under construction, but it'll be an opportunity for folks to see exactly what goes into that, along with some of the other things that we do in our department. So really looking forward to that. And those are the main things I have.
Yeah, Rick, about the kayak rack at Ann, how many will it hold, or how many can?
10 spaces.
10 spaces? Oh, okay, all right. And,
Hey, go ahead.
And let's see, you mentioned that which lakes are you doing electrofishing on? Say tonight.
Ann was last night. Where we do them all eventually over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick, I've
Yes.
noticed that since we started collecting water data, that there's a couple of lakes. I know Windsor's one of them where the clarity has gotten to be really high.
Yes.
Brittany's another one, but we don't do anything with Brittany. But any plans to fertilize Windsor or at this point?
So it's a little too early to fertilize now. You don't get a lot of bang for your buck. With the recent high water, we would lose a lot of that over the spillway. But the conditions are getting better. So if all remains the same, where we have clear water, we might be fertilizing within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. Okay, so you're okay with us saying that we're gonna lower Lake Windsor for next year, correct?
I don't have anything else that would be a concern on the other lakes as far as needing to lower those. We would prefer to only lower one per year, and so it leaves Windsor open for that, which is the next lake in line.
Okay, so I would like the committee to vote to lower Lake Windsor for next year. I'd like to get a motion on that. We don't have to vote this meeting, but I think the further we give the members notice about what's going on next year, the better it will be. So can
And
I get
I
a
am
motion?
getting a few calls per week on what we're doing with Windsor. So
Okay,
there is need out there.
okay, thanks, Rick. So Paul has made a motion that we lower Lake Windsor this coming winter. Do I get a second? All right, Kelly seconded. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Wasson, aye.
Okay, thanks, Errol. All right, so we voted to approve lowering of Lake Windsor. And again, some extraordinary circumstance presents itself between now and then. We can always, hopefully we don't have to do that, but we could always make an adjustment or what have you. But let everybody know that we're gonna lower Windsor. It's on the schedule anyway, and might as well get it out there. Rick, is there anything else on Lake Avalon? I know it's back up to normal level after the big rain we had. Anything else from the lowering of that lake? Any issues, anything there?
I mean, the rain event that brought the lake back up actually caused a little bit of damage again at the beach, but nothing that we weren't prepared for. That tends to happen anyway. I know that the sand, the nice, pretty white sand that goes in every year, we pushed that off until the very last minute because of the potential for washout. And so it's going to take probably a couple days to groom that beach back into shape, and then a day or so to get the sand down. That was the main thing. We removed the gravel bar coming into the lake, and for whatever reason, the high water really didn't push gravel back in. I was kind of afraid that would happen and we'd be back to square one. But that looks pretty good. There is some concrete work that will need to be done in the future on the spillway itself, but we were advised by our contractor that we weren't ready for that yet. We could go another term before we need to address that. We were able to get the work done on Tanya Creek that we intended to do. So really, there's really nothing left undone on that.
Okay. Before we move on, Trey, do you have anything to report about the marina?
Marina's open.
Okay.
Got a little facelift, so we should come check that out. But we're moving. We're on spring hours, obviously, but everything is all the boats are up. We're full steam ahead.
Okay.
What does spring hours mean?
Spring hours is 8 to 2, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and 8 to 5, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. At Memorial Day, we'll go 8 to 5 and 8 to 8, and that'll last until Labor Day, when we'll go back to the same spring schedule for our fall hours.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Rick or Trey?
Yeah, I have another question for Rick. Rick, April 15th is your opening for your new fish brooding ponds. Pardon me. When do you think you'll actually be able to put fish in? And if so, which kind of brood are you going to put in those ponds? Is that too early to tell?
I think you're muted, Rick. Can't hear you.
He's
Can you?
It's looking like possibly early next week we could get sawguy fry in. If not, I've got channel catfish in cages that can go in just as soon as we're finished.
Okay.
They're as of today, they're clearing a trail and getting the inlet line in. So we expect that to be done by the end of the week, and then we'll put the liner in, and be ready to go. Hopefully next week sometime.
And we have the from, you told me starts at 10 o'clock on Saturday, right? The open house?
Yes.
And so will the ponds we'll be able to walk around and see them and that sort of thing, right?
Yes, I
Okay.
can show folks how they operate and how it's so much easier than the golf course ponds we were using previously.
Yeah, I think we've already had a golf course pond flood like 2 weeks ago, so probably a good.
Yep,
probably a good
that would
move.
have ruined us again this year.
Yeah, every year. Board members, Sandy or Jerry, you guys have anything before we move on?
No. No.
Oh,
Okay, just wanted to
No,
check.
good.
Okay, so we have Lakes Committee term expiring in June of '23. So Paul Bickford and Grace Turley are going to exit the committee by their choice. Errol Wasson is moving to Florida. Errol, I hope I'm not saying anything that is not true, but tell me if I'm not. But you're also going to be leaving the committee. So that leaves the committee with 3 openings. We currently have 9 candidates that are in the process of being interviewed. We did 3 today, and hopefully we can do 6 next week and come up with a suggestion for 3 candidates. Carol Phillips and Ross Gerner's terms are expiring, but they've agreed to serve another term, so we'll make a recommendation to the board that they be reappointed to the committee. Remind everyone that the lake water inspections have begun, and I checked the file this morning. It looks like we have complete data for 2 weeks on all of the lakes, so that's good. Saturday is open house from 10 to 2. I'm going to try to be there. Hopefully some of you guys will too, to see the new ponds and what have you. I don't have anything else on the agenda, so prior to moving on, go ahead, Tom.
I just want to jump in if any of the individuals that are looking to get on the Lakes Committee that volunteered, so forth, you're conducting interviews, the committee votes on who they want to recommend, and then that recommendation goes to the board, and the board finalizes that recommendation. They do have the authority to reject. They haven't done it yet, but they do have that. So I just want to make sure it was clear what the process is on adding additional members to the committee.
Appreciate that. Okay, Bill, you got anything? Sir, do you have anything? Yes. Go ahead.
Kennedy on Loch Lomond, Dock 64, and I've been up a couple of times and talked with y'all about just some of the concerns this year, and I'm sure Tom can testify to it too, that the boats are increasing again this year, that the number that are being registered, because it's early in the year and I'm already seeing a large number of boats on Loch Lomond that I haven't even recognized before, and that's unusual, all the way from John boats to big boats to fishing boats to everything. So it's getting really, really busy, which really concerns me from a safety standpoint, that the fishing boats and even some of the big pontoons now, the speed that they're generating coming down Loch Lomond is just astounding. I mean, really astounding. I mean, you can see rooster tails coming. And as you know, if you live around Loch Lomond, we're also on the flight path for X&A. And so when I'm out working, I don't know whether it's a jet coming over or whether it's one of the high-speed fishing boats coming down the lake. So it is getting dangerous. And since I do live right at kind of catty corner to the Marina, if y'all fish, I don't know how many fish Loch Lomond, but there's that sandy bar that's right there across from Loch Lomond, the Marina. and people are fishing with their backs to the lake as they fish that point. As boats come around that corner and are zipping through, they're creating waves, and it's real. Sometimes it's entertaining to watch the people as they don't see the waves coming, and all of a sudden their boat gets just nailed. I mean, just literally nailed. And the cussing, I live close enough to that point that I can hear the cussing and everything, but I'm more concerned about the safety that someone's gonna get hurt. And so I'd really encourage the committee to take a look at something like golf does. Golf does the 90-degree rule. I don't know whether your golfers in here or not, but Daryl can talk to that they publish all the time talking about a 90-degree rule, where instead of cutting the corners off, can they go down the center and then 90 degrees off and go to the marina? And hopefully that would minimize the number of people getting hit right along the edge, because it is a safety issue. The other thing is just encouraging, again, I'll go back to golf. I play a lot of golf, and I look at the golfing update. They're continuously putting things in the golf update about etiquette and things you should do and not do on the golf course. I don't see the same thing on the lakes. You know, I look at the sporting update and I see. Okay.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. You know, the etiquette part of golf is reminding people to practice good etiquette, I think, is a good idea, and it's probably something that we could, wouldn't be a bad idea to remind boaters that as the season gets busy, to practice good boating etiquette, because there are some things that boaters can do to minimize their impact on others. So good comments. Thank you for saying that.
I'm sorry, I have one other thing. Just want to let the Lakes Committee be aware. So the city of Bella Vista is contemplating changing one of their ordinances, which would, currently the ordinance is about limiting one dock per parcel of land. The city has determined that since it is private property, the POA, the city should not be involved in that effort to restrict how many docks per parcel. So what has occurred is representatives from the city, the ACC, the POA, and the Townhouse Association, we had a meeting last week to discuss what kind of policies we want to implement. It will be on the POA side, because the POA owns the lakes, owns the common property, and how we want to regulate it and so forth. The city will still be involved because you're talking about building a structure, so they have building codes. The ACC would still be involved because you're talking about aesthetics. And in some cases, the Townhouse Association would be involved if it is regarding a potential dock on Townhouse Association land. So it was a good cooperative meeting. And tomorrow at the Rules and Regulations Committee meeting for the POA, which will take place at 1:30 tomorrow in this room, and it's a public meeting for the membership, we're going to talk about potential rules on how to take on the POA to take on that governance, since the city is backing away from that. The city will still enforce setbacks, building codes, and those types of things, but they will no longer enforce how many docks you can have per parcel. So that'll be a function of the POA regulating that going forward.
Is there a limit on the number? Is there a rule in place now?
Currently, there's a rule in place that is one dock per parcel, which if you attend tomorrow's meeting, you'll see that we want to keep that in place, but we want to give some latitude when it comes to the Townhouse Association, because they have large areas of land and it's one parcel, and that one dock per parcel does not make sense for that. We've involved Rick and the Lakes guys, because we want to make sure we don't overload the lakes. We want to be careful not to do that, but we also want to make sure that if you are a lakefront owner, that you have some reasonable ability to create a dock if you want one. All right. So if you're interested, attend the meeting tomorrow. You'll be able to see what we're working on. Okay.
Is there any
Hey, Tom.
restriction on dock size?
I have one
for the
question.
Sorry.
Doesn't our covenants dictate one dock per parcel? So isn't that the ACC?
Yeah. So so by getting everybody together, what we're trying to do is also make it easier on the member that wants to build a dock. Because right now, we're looking at, they would need to seek approval from the Townhouse Association, the POA, get a permit from the ACC, get a permit from the city. All those different steps. So what we're trying to do is combine some of those, and the ACC would take on some of those responsibilities, where instead of the member having to call the POA to get approval, the ACC would call the POA, and we would make that decision. Regarding your question on sizes, yes, we would continue. We don't want to go past the 18 feet out. We don't want to have, we want to have some regulation in there, because there's some docks that are huge.
Almost cover the whole property.
Yeah, huge, yeah. And so we want to have some regulation regarding that.
Okay.
We want to make sure that everything that, what we're trying to do is make it reasonable. We want people to be able to have an enjoyable dock to work on, to have fun on, but we don't want to overload the lakes.
Okay, thanks for that update. It's interesting. We were just talking in some of the interviews about how the POA and the city and the ACC have different responsibilities, and we have to coordinate efforts. So that's a kind of a pertinent point.
Well, and what we've included in this proposed policy change is explaining this. You know, this is why you have to talk to the ACC. This is what they do and why you have to talk to them. This is what the city does and why you have to talk to, you know. So trying to make it more understandable.
Yeah. Bill, you had a question?
Quick question, Tom. Can you come up to the microphone so people at home can hear you?
This is for new construction, future docks to be built?
What we've done, yes, it's primarily new construction, but it also, we've included in the draft version, and the draft version has only been seen by me, so there's probably going to be some changes, but if you make a substantial improvement to your existing dock, you would need to be in compliance with the new policy.
The reason why I raised the question is my dock and boat slips were built in 2008, and I've got 2 boat slips. So you had mentioned like one dock per parcel of land. Mm-hmm. And I was questioning, is a dock the boat slip, or is the boat slip separate than the dock? That's the reason why I questioned that.
Yeah.
Raised the question.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'll relook at what I wrote to make sure that I try and contemplate all the things. But I'm using the word dock. It's actually dock, boat slip, and the other term we use is recreational improvement. Yeah. Which is kind of a all-encompassing, but I think that the way I have it written would potentially work in your instance. I'd probably have to look at an aerial of your dock, but thank you.
Okay, thanks for that update. All right, I don't have anything else. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up or discuss or talk about? Okay, with that being said, meeting is adjourned.
Matt?
Yes, Errol?
Yeah, I just got back on. I've got a question. Do I understand that there was a triathlon partially held on Lake Ann last weekend?
Yeah, Errol, I got that email from you this morning. I am not aware of that. Is anybody aware of a triathlon taking place on Lake Ann?
Yes, there was this last weekend. It was actually an orienteering race, like a 350-mile race that started, I think, at Salem. But we sought approval from committee approval towards the end of last year, so it was a sanctioned event.
Okay.
Bicycle.
It was biking,
So the
hiking.
lake committee,
They went into the
the
lake.
lake
They used
committee
the-
approved that last year?
Yeah, yeah, it was sanctioned and voted upon, yes.
By the lake committee?
I know it was done by the rec committee, and I am fairly certain that Joan came to the meeting, the Lakes Committee meeting, because it was a crossover.
Well, I didn't remember it, but
I
it
didn't
may have
either.
been.
Errol, I don't remember that either, but, so it was one event and it's in the past, correct? I mean, it's-
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we voted on that, but I could be wrong. My memory's not the best sometimes.
If she didn't, then I apologize for misstating, but we did go through the process, and they were using parks and so forth, so that, you know, it was not just lakes.
Okay. Errol, you got anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Are you still moving or are you staying? Guess he didn't hear me. Okay, anything else? Going again. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.